Yes, we can hear you and see you.
Right. Good evening, and thank you for the privilege to be here tonight. And I also want to sincerely apologize for taking, a bit of time to come online. So thank you once again, and we are here now, and it's just going to be the right thing will be to just dive into the session. But just before we start the session, I understand that um, I've been looking at the number of people on the call. This is kind of a closed session and it should be more interactive. So I will be facilitating while we learn from one another. But before I just start, I would like to get to meet everybody on the call. I know this is not going to take a lot of time because we're not plenty on this call. So I'd like to meet everybody on the call and I would like somebody to take the lead. So just tell me your name, tell me what you do, and tell me one very interesting thing about you. And if there's any annoying thing about you as well, you might also want to just, tell me about it. So who is going to take the lead? Who wants to go first?
Okay, let me go first.
All right, thank you.
Once again. My name is Uzoma Nwachukwu. I'm a data scientist and a telecoms engineer. One fascinating thing about me is that I love to learn and I love to teach. Thank you.
Thank you. There's nothing annoying about you, right?
Annoying, I procrastinate a lot.
Oh, amazing. All right, thank you, Uzoma. Who's next? Who's going next? Okay, since nobody is volunteering, I think I'll just call based on the way I'm seeing names on my screen. Emmanuel. Emmanuel.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Okay, my name is Emmanuel Nwabasi. I'm a technical product manager. Yes, is that it? Nothing annoying about me. Maybe anyone can tell me. I don't know.
Hey, what did you say you do again, please?
I'm a technical product manager.
Okay, okay, thank you. So maybe we'll find out before the end of the session if there's anything annoying about you or not. Stanley, please, can we have you?
My name is Stanley Bogoro. A software engineer. Something annoying about me. I don't know. I think it's for people to decide what is annoying about me, I believe.
Okay, what about something interesting?
First, then, I'm not so proud. I'm like kind of a jack of all trades. Like I do almost anything, or I can do anything. Like goes great. So,
Thank you very much. Indeed, aha, Naomi.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Good evening. I hope I didn't murder you.
Indeed, my name is Naomi Indeed. I'm a lawyer. I don't know. I think an interesting thing about me is that I talk a lot. And I think that should also be the annoying thing about me.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Adeni Daniel, please let's have you. Adeni Daniel, are you there?
My name is Daniel. I'm a civil engineer. Yeah, one interesting thing about me, I I'm a kind-hearted person. I don't know if that's interesting.
I'm struggling. I'm actually struggling to hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Much better.
Yeah, so my name is Daniel. Adeni Daniel. I am a civil engineer. One interesting thing about me is that I am kind-hearted. Yeah, and I am playful. Right. I think that's And I don't know if there's anything annoying about me. I would know
Right.
about it.
Okay, thank you very much. Letitia, can we meet you? Hi, Letitia. Letitia Etoniaku. Okay, while I'm waiting for Letitia, let me go to Ubani Godson.
Good evening. My name is Obani Gosrim. I'm a public health officer. One interesting thing about me is I'm always available to my family and friends. I don't know if there's anything annoying about me.
All right, thank you very much. Felix Dibia.
Okay, good evening, everybody. My name is Felix Dibia. I'm a chemical engineer by profession. So one interesting thing about me is that I make friends easily. I will say I know how to make good friends easily. Then I don't know anything annoying, but I just detest some certain things. One of them being traffic, disorderliness, and then unkempt environments or dirty places.
Right, thank you very much. Okay, thank you, host. I can see that you spotlighted me, but I would like to still be in the gallery view because I was going around the room. Thank you. Chukuma Mwigwe. So after Chukuma, we have 3 more people to go. 2 more people to go, then we'll be good. No, 3. Chukuma. Okay, Chiamaka, please can you go ahead? Hi, Chiamaka. Okay, Brain, can we hear you? Brain, Iyeke.
Hi, good evening.
Oh, hi, Chiamaka. Good evening.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't get the question. I just joined.
So, okay, tell us your name, tell us what you do, tell us one interesting thing about you, and tell us one annoying thing about you if you know of.
Okay. All right. My name is Chiamaka Jeremiah. I'm a nurse and a fashion designer. Yeah. One interesting thing about me is okay, I like dancing, but I can't dance. One annoying thing, I don't know any annoying thing now. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Brain, Iyeke, can we have it, please? Then I will have Ebenezer last, and then we'll move on.
All right, good evening. Please confirm you can hear me.
Loud and clear.
All right, so yeah, my name is Brain. I work with AXA Mansard. So I work with the SME and wealth space of AXA Mansard. One interesting thing about me is that I smile a lot. Yeah, I love smiling. And then another thing, I think I don't like being in a confined space. Yeah. So I'm kind of I think the word is claustrophobic or something. Yeah. I don't like confined space.
Okay. Thank you very much. Ebenezer, please let's have you.
Good evening. Good thing I came last, so I had time to think about it. But interesting thing about me, I could say I'm quite observant, and with that, I'm sort of able to learn whatever I put my mind to. So that was one interesting thing about me because of my power of observation. Then the annoying part about it is I'm quite competitive as well. So yeah, and sometimes competition could become unhealthy. So yeah, that's just me. And I am a business developer.
All right, thank you very much. And it's so nice to meet with every one of you here tonight. You know, as you were just introducing yourself, like, hey, Jesus Christ, what am I going to say here this night? This one that I'm having, I have technical product manager, data scientist, I have civil engineer, public health officer, business developer, and so on and so forth. But again, I'm here this evening to just facilitate this learning, and we're just going to learn from each other. And tonight, I've been brought on board to speak on effective communication, and I would just want one person. And I'm very sorry if it seems like I'm really disturbing you, but whenever I take any session, I don't do it alone. I like people in the session to join me. So when you hear effective communication, in your own opinion, based on your experience, because all of you with the introductions that I've gotten tonight, it is very clear to me that each and every one of you are actually individuals, you're leaders in your own right, and you know, within your own sphere of influence. When you hear effective communication, what comes to mind? What makes a communication effective? Anyone, please? Any taker? What makes communication effective? I wouldn't want to call on anyone. Can someone please volunteer? Yes, Ebenezer, please go ahead.
For me, effective communication is when a message is has been successfully passed or can be successfully passed without anything being lost in transit. So yeah, that's effective communication today.
Thank you very much. Thank you so very much. And I think that is very profound. You know, okay, Brain, please go ahead.
Okay, so I would say communication is effective when you are able to get the desired feedback or response that you need from the communication. Yeah.
Thank you so very much. I will start this night by making a quote from Bernard Shaw. Judge Bernard Shaw had said that the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. And you agree with me, Ubani has also dropped something in the chat. I want the person you're talking to understand what you're saying and be able to respond positively. And you agree with me that for some of us who grew up, you know, in the typical African home, maybe your mom or your dad asks you to go and bring something, and you get to them and you're like, oh, where should I put it? And say, put it on my head. And when that child puts it on their head, you definitely know that that child is definitely going to go to heaven that day and come back to this earth. But sometimes you see that assumption that you should know this, that assumption that you should be wise enough, that thought that says, I don't have to say everything, I don't have to spell it out, is one of the major challenges, one of the major barriers that we have to effective communication. Because whatever is not communicated the way it ought to be communicated has not been communicated. I'll take that again. Whatever is not communicated the way it ought to be communicated has never been communicated. So when you have assumption about people, and these are some of the things that bring strain to the different relationships that we have. And when I say different relationship, it might be official, it might be professional relationship, it might be romantic relationship, it might be friendship, it might be family. But because we have assumptions, we leave some things to assumptions. In this way, communication does not becomes ineffective. And I'll take it this way again. Like we said, you know, I think while we're in secondary school, they will say that in communication, there is a sender, there is medium, and there is a receiver. And around the sender, the medium, and the receiver is what you call noise. So the interference, the interference of noise with the message that is being sent is what makes communication ineffective. And most times when we're looking at some of this noise, I would like to put it this way this night, that sometimes noise can actually be the medium. The medium through which you pass messages across sometimes can be noise. It might tamper with the effectiveness of that message. So you must understand the right platform, the right medium, the right channel, the right approach to passing messages across, right? So let's go ahead. So these are some of the things we want to do. The objective tonight is to equip you with key leadership traits through effective communication. There is no leader that is going to be an effective leader. There is no leader that is going to be a transformational leader if the leader is unable to communicate effectively. In fact, I don't have the statistics now, but there is a research that said that the highest skill that employers are looking for is the ability to communicate effectively. When you look at marriages, you have many marriage counselors who will tell you that most marriages separate. Most marriages go their separate ways because of ineffective communication. Businesses break apart because business partners cannot communicate effectively. There is strenuous work relationship between colleagues because expectations are not effectively communicated, and challenges are also not effectively communicated. So tonight, I'm hoping that at the end of this session, we'll be able to develop effective communication skills, both in your ability as a leader and as an individual, and to also be able to, we're also going to touch on presentation skills to an extent, right? So another thing I also want us to know is that every communication should offer value with the aim to understand the emotions and intentions behind the information. Now, I'm going to do something, and I want you guys to tell me whatever you think about what I do. And I need 3 people to just do that. I'm very happy to be here tonight. It's such an exciting moment to come here tonight and take this session. So I need your reaction to what I've just done. What do you think? What can you pick from what I've done? And I hope the people that should respond are people who are actually looking at me. People can see me. People are looking at their screen at the moment. So any takers? Please don't tell me there is nobody that is looking at me.
Okay, so can I respond?
Yes, please. Please go ahead. Obani, I'll come to you.
Okay, so having been able to listen to you speak with your body gesture prior to what you just did, I think that communication was not very lively because of the body gesture, and then the will I use the word morale? The morale you used was very low, so there's really there's no strength in it, so it's kind of it weakens the spirit. So probably if you were in a training section and you're speaking like that, you are going to lose me because I will not pay attention to it. Like you're not serious. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, Godson rather. Sorry.
Okay. Yes. Your body language was saying something else, while your voice was saying something else. Because you made mention, oh, I'm very happy to be here. Meanwhile, your body language was totally giving a different response. It's showing your body language was telling us that, yes, you're here, but you're not really and completely here. And maybe somehow you're doing this for doing sake, not like it's coming from you or you really need to.
I thank you very much. And that is it. And that is what I'm trying to say here. That when you're trying to communicate, one thing you need to understand is that your communication for your communication to be effective, it's your body language, the emotion that comes with that communication must convey the same message that you're trying to convey with your vocal cords. So if I'm saying, oh, I'm so excited to be here tonight, I'm so happy to be taking this session with you, you have no doubt in your heart that I'm so happy to be taking the session because everything about me says it. And most times we always miss this out. I'm trying to look at the person that says the interest thing about them is they talk a lot. And I think that was I think it was the first lady that spoke. Yeah, that was Naomi. In fact, you're a lawyer. If you're not talking a lot, then I don't know what else is going to be happening. So, and when you look at most of us who talks a lot, sometimes we just think that talking is just for the purpose of talking. But the truth of the matter is, whenever you are opening your mouth to communicate anything, there must be a level of value that you're communicating. And that is what makes your communication effective. Because when you are able to communicate value, then your receiver has interest in understanding what you're trying to say. So even if the first way you communicated it is not going, I mean, they do not understand, they can't comprehend it. It's like me saying, I want to give everybody present on this call today a brand new SUV. So thank you very much. As we are saying, the session we are here for today is effective communication. I'm very sure before I end this session, somebody is going to raise their hand and say, please, you mentioned something about brand new SUV the other time, but we did not understand what you mean. We don't understand what we need to do in order to get that vehicle. Please, can you elaborate? Because you have been able to see value in what I was trying to say. So whenever you're trying to communicate, you must first ask yourself, what is the value in what I want to communicate? By the time you are able to put that value out in your lines of communication, the chances of your communication being effective becomes increased, right? So, and why does communication matters in leadership? Effective communication matters because the very first thing is that it fosters trust. When people know that whatever you said is what you are intending to say, they can trust you. It will not become a situation of, and I know that when you look at it in your professional side, you must have had something like, oh, anytime I'm having conversation with my manager, I'm always recording it though, because they will tell you something else. By the time you are done saying it, if you have had something like this before, you can just click on any reaction. Let me see any reaction. They say you will say something else, it's something else that you will see. And you see people start recording calls. They start recording conversations between them and their managers. Their manager will have conversations with them, and immediately they are finishing that conversation, they are documenting it because they cannot trust you. So it means you are not effectively communicating. Effective communication fosters collaboration. When people trust you, then they want to support you. When people trust you, they want to work with you. However, one of the things that will foster that, that trust in the first place is effective communication. One of the reasons why I was asking earlier that you should tell us something annoying about you is that in effective communication, don't forget that I said that when you communicate effectively, people will trust you and they'll be willing to collaborate. And because they trust you and they'll be willing to collaborate with you, it is easier for them to give you honest and truthful feedback. And in that process, you are able to understand what you need to focus on when it comes to self-development. So that is another thing that effective communication does. When you communicate effectively, people do not walk on eggshells around you. So you know the aspect of you that you need to work on and improve on, and you are able to pick it by the time you're getting feedback, because part of effective communication is also the ability to be able to take constructive and critical feedback. Team development, when there is effective communication, the team works together, the team is able to focus on the same goal, the team is able to forge ahead together, and there is productivity, and the team is also inspired. One of the things you need to also always understand when it comes to communication is clarity and conciseness. You need to ensure that your words are straightforward and they are not ambiguous. You cannot be sarcastic with the way you were talking. I was saying it earlier, some of the things that parents will say, put it on my head. Come and carry me, when they're actually trying to communicate something else. We cannot pick those kind of things and say, you should know. So assumption is one of the things you want to do away with when it comes to effective communication. Most I want to say, you've been handling this task for the past 15 years. You should know better. No, they cannot know better because you did not communicate it to them. It is very, very important that you communicate things the way you want it to be communicated. Like I said earlier, please don't forget, whatever is not communicated the way it should be communicated has not been communicated, right? Active listening, you need to focus on understanding, not to respond or react. So most times when people are having conversations with us, You know, when you talk about effective communication, most time we think is our ability to be able to pass messages across effectively. And it is not just that, it is also about listening. Someone once said that, have you ever wondered why God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth? It is because you need to listen twice before you even speak once, you know. So most times when people are having conversations with you, you already have your response and you just want them to land. And by the time you are landing, you are just blotting out your response. The truth of the matter is there is no way you are going to understand what they are saying because you are hearing them from a perspective. You have a mindset. So we need to start practicing active listening. You will always feel that urge. Maybe when somebody wants to start talking about something, say, no, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. You see, it is not like that. No, try to calm yourself down. All of us have this temptation. Calm yourself down, listen to what they have to say, and then respond afterwards, right? And emotional intelligence is something that is very, very important when it comes to effective communication. You need to be able to understand what we call reading the room. You know, people will say something like, oh, that is me, that is who I am. Please, if you can still hear me, can you please just put 11 in the chat box? Let me be sure I'm just speaking to my chairs and my workstation here. Please, if you can still hear me and if you're still with me, just put 11 in the chat box. I want to be sure I'm not alone. So people will say that this is who I am. You cannot separate me from this. I say it the way it is. I'm very critical. I give honest feedback. But you must understand, and I'm just going to lean on the scriptures a bit now. When you look at the Bible, when David sinned against God, and God was going to pass some messages across to him, and he gave that instruction to one of his servants to go and relay that message to David. The guy didn't just get to David and tell David, you should know better. You, with everything, with how you've been working with God. He started asking David some questions. Oh, king, may you live long. Can you imagine? There is somebody, he created a scenario. And after he has gotten to a point, he said, king, do you know you're actually the person that I'm talking about? So the way you present your situation, the way you communicate, most especially when having tough conversation, is very, very important. So emotional intelligence is going to help you to also communicate effectively, because one thing you need to know about human nature is that we always want to defend ourselves. None of us wants to be attacked. So when somebody is having a conversation with you and you feel attacked, what you want to do is to be defensive. But when somebody is having a conversation with you in a way that makes you see that they are seeking for your best interest, it is a different type of response that you're going to have to them. And having said that, emotional intelligence is one thing that is also very, very important. And before I leave the subject of emotional intelligence, I also want to quickly touch on the story of Daniel. There was a time when the king had a dream and he could not even remember this dream. Then just imagine, you're the one who slept, you had the dream. I was not with you in your dreamland, and you cannot remember your dream. Then you woke up and you said, because you have appointed into a certain position, if I cannot tell you the dream that even you yourself cannot remember, they should go and kill us. Now, Daniel could have been furious, but look at the way Daniel said. He said, please, can you just give me some time? Give me some time, let me seek the face of God, and by the time I'm done, I should be able to tell you this dream that you're talking about. And that tells you that emotional intelligence can help you to have difficult and tough conversations and still come out with the best of results. But imagine that Daniel had reacted in some ways. So we cannot say this is who we are. As human beings, one of the things you want to do for yourself all the time is to understand how you can get better from who you were yesterday. So emotional intelligence is very, very important, most especially for people who always give you critical feedback. You want to be able to read the room, understand, the emotions in the room. Sometimes you can delay some conversations. So when you look at the situation, when you look at that emotions are very high, the tensions are very high, you delay some conversations, you don't have it at that time, then you bring it when you can see that the person you want to have that conversation with is in the right state of mind to receive what you're trying to communicate to them. Then the next one is respect. if you are responding or reacting, do so politely. Somebody can give you a critical feedback. Two wrongs will never make a right. So you want to understand how to respect people when you are even communicating, either you are giving feedback or you are receiving feedback. Then this one is confidence. You know that when you stutter, when you don't show confidence in what you're saying, you're going to bore people out. People are not even interested in what you're trying to say. So it is important that you also show confidence. And how are you able to show confidence? One of my role models used to say this. He said that when your knowledge is not enough, your confidence will shake. When your knowledge is not enough, your confidence will shake. Over time, it has been discovered that people mess up when they are having a public speaking activity because they have limited knowledge about what they are talking about. Most times when you have deep knowledge about what you're talking about, it boosts your confidence to a certain level and it helps you to speak confidently because it is something that you know about. Having said that, it is going to be difficult for you to speak confidently if you do not invest in understanding what you're talking about. So sometimes humans are very reactive. You just hear something and you've not had the complete statement. You've not seen the complete picture. And instead of you to take your time to understand before you respond or you react, you go ahead and react without having the full picture. And this way, by the time they now counter one of the things you said, you start stuttering. So this way you're not able to speak with confidence. So it is important that you gather your fact and figure well before you even embark on any communication. Now, I've touched on this earlier. You need to understand that when you're speaking, the emotions, your facial look, you can see the use of your hands, the use of the entire body contributes to you understanding, contributes to your audience understanding what you're trying to say. And we have two major types of communication. You have the verbal communication and the non-verbal communication. If you are doing something, maybe you're driving, you're commuting at the moment, or you are trying to prepare dinner, or you're doing something and you're not looking at your screen at the moment, and you're just listening to me. You can only hear me, you cannot see my facial expression. You can't marry my hand gestures and my body language to what I am saying. Then you cannot understand what I'm saying at the same level with which the person who is looking at their screen and can see me the way I'm doing will understand what I'm trying to say. Because there is something your body language does to reinforcing the message that you're trying to communicate, right? And when we talk about verbal communication as well, you need to understand that it is not just about talking. If you have been listening to me all the while, you will notice that I have been inflecting my voice to a point. You must have seen me stress some things, and you must have seen me try to reduce my voice. And what that means is that when you're trying to communicate, when you're trying to have conversations, most especially when it's a public conversations you're having conversations with more than one person, you do not want to sound monotonous. And monotonous is that you're just sounding the same way. There's no voice inflection. You're not looking at your pace and working on your pacing. You're not, your intonation, there is nothing changing about it. So you need to understand the power of pause. You need to understand the power of stressing your point, because sometimes it helps people to really understand what you're trying to talk about. You need to understand how to maintain eye contact with people, because in fact, some people are of the mindset and opinion that when you're having conversations with people and you cannot maintain eye contact with them, it is either because you do not trust or believe in what you're saying or because you're lying. So sometimes we might feel uncomfortable because of the way we were brought up. You don't maintain eye contact with people, you start making them feel uncomfortable, You might feel uncomfortable maintaining eye contact with people, but it is important that you maintain eye contact with whoever you're having conversations with. You might look away once in a while, but again, always try and maintain eye contact, because some people believe that when you're having conversations with people and you don't maintain eye contact, you are either lying or you're not sure of what you are talking about. All right. So active listening. It is the practice of concentrating, understanding, and responding. responding thoughtfully to what is being said. So you see, holding a conversation, having response, responding to people is one of the most difficult things to do, because if you're not thoughtfully listening to them, you can just blot out something that is just what you have in your mind, your impression about what they have said. But when you concentrate and you understand, and how do you concentrate? Concentrate is that when somebody is having a conversation with you, you are actively listening to them, you are not distracted by anything or anyone, and you're looking at them. Then when they are done having that conversation, sorry, someone saying something? I thought I heard a voice now.
Please
Okay.
go ahead.
All right, thank you. So when they are done saying what they have said, one of the ways for you to understand what they have said is what I call become a ruminant animal and regurgitate. How do you regurgitate? So I've passed an information to you, I've said something to you. You want to say, do you mean? Then you repeat what I have said in the best possible way in which you have understood it. If that is not what I am trying to communicate, I am definitely going to correct you instantly. That is one of the ways for you to understand. So after you have regurgitated and I have affirmed and confirmed what you've said, that yes, that is what I'm trying to say, then you respond thoughtfully. Responding thoughtfully means that you're not just responding because you have to say something. In fact, sometimes, based on your understanding of what I've been communicating, you might say, I honestly don't have a response now. Can you please allow me to come back with a response? And that is what it means that you're being thoughtful, right? And then I think I was having a conversation with someone earlier today, and I was saying that, most times we've had people say things like, oh, when you have an opportunity, when you're in a room, when you're in a meeting, and they say, is there any question? Always stand up and say something. Don't be in a room and just be quiet. And I think even the Bible says that foolishness is best kept in silence. You see, the fact that you need to ask questions, or the fact that you need to contribute to conversations when conversations are going, doesn't mean that you should just say anything when you don't have anything to say. Don't forget that I said earlier that effective communication is you being able to communicate value in whatever you want to say. So before you open your mouth at any point in time and say anything, one of the major questions you want to ask yourself is, what value is in this thing that I want to communicate? And if you cannot convince yourself of any value in it, I think you should just let it be. In fact, the Bible says that you should let your word to be seasoned with grace, right? So, and that is value to an extent. Do you understand? So if you cannot communicate value, then there is no point for you to communicate at that point. And I'm saying this to say that it is not every time that you are asked to say something that you actually have to say something, most especially if you don't have anything to say. I've spoken about maintaining eye contact. I've spoken about you being present and attentive. Don't interrupt when people are talking. We most especially when it is something we're passionate about, we're always tempted to interrupt. Oh, yes, what you're trying to say, and you want to complete their statement for them. No, don't. Try to hold back. Ask clarifying questions. Paraphrase and summarize to show understanding. I said this already. Show empathy and acknowledge emotions. So sometimes, people, and I can't remember the name of the person. I think it was, is it Winston Churchill? I can't remember who said it now, or Eisoa. I think it was Eisoa who said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Sometimes people can be saying something, they can be expressing a level of emotion that you think is not valid. And what I mean by it's not valid, maybe somebody is saying something and they're angry about it, and you feel like, why should this person be angry about this thing? You have to be empathetic. And empathy, in my own opinion, does not mean you putting yourself in other people's shoes. Because, for example, I want to guess, can anybody just blot out their shoe size on this call? Anybody, just unmute and tell me your shoe size. I'm not giving out shoes anyways.
42.
Oh, okay. I want someone else because that is also my size. I want someone who is not choosing 42.
44.5.
41.
41, yes. 41 is a good one. So imagine I use a size 42, and the person who just spoke now that is using size 41, imagine me putting myself in her shoes. It means I'm going to be having a sense of a discomfort that does not even exist for this person. That is what it means. But if I want to be empathetic, what I have to do is to actually ask her, how does this shoe feels in your leg? There's every possibility that that shoe is her size, but because she has a wound somewhere in her leg, she's feeling some level of pain. If I do not ask her and I just collect the shoe from her and I put my leg in it, I'm definitely not going to know how she feels. So sometimes you need to see things from other people's perspective. How do you see it from their perspective? It is by asking them. It is by allowing them to explain to you and help you understand what they are feeling. But if you have not been able to build trust with them through effective communication, when you're asking them, they're either telling you, oh, there is nothing, I'm okay, or they are just giving you another story, right? So it is very, very important that we show empathy and we acknowledge emotions. And some of the barriers to effective communication are the common barriers and physical and psychological. So when it comes to physical and psychological, is, you know, sometimes somebody is talking to you, you have your phone, you are watching the reels, and after they, oh, sorry, what were you talking about? What were you saying? Oh, there's this thing I just saw now. You know, those are sometimes the person that is speaking to you feels disrespected and they might not communicate in full details the way they have communicated earlier. Cultural differences. Now, and when we're talking about cultural differences, I don't want us to just look at it from the lens of just tribe alone. For example, I'm a Yoruba boy, right? For even up till now, if I go home and you know, and I greet my dad, and maybe I just bend down, or you know, just bend down to greet him, the old man is just going to stand there and he'll be like, young man, you don't greet. And what that means is that I have to prostrate. You know, I have to give him full prostrate. And there are other places in Nigeria. I don't know if Igbo prostrate. I doubt it. I think I have some Igbo people on this call. I don't think Igbo prostrate. To you guys? All the Igbo on the call, they've deserted me. But no. It's okay. All right. Okay. So those are cultural differences. It is very possible that maybe in your culture, it is handshake, and you get to an environment, you shook somebody, and that person, because they feel they are older than you, or you should respect them in some form of way, they already have a mindset. There is a bias already, and there is nothing you're saying that they are hearing. They're not hearing you because there is already a bias in place. So cultural bias, and that is why one of the things you want to do when you're in any environment, in order to be able to communicate effectively, is that you look at the environment and you understand your audience. You need to be able to understand your audience. There are religious differences. You know, there are some things that are doctrinal differences. There are things that one church's doctrine is another church is different from another church doctrine. And based on that, those kind of things could, you know, it could cloud the way certain communications are being received. Assumption and lack of active listening. You know, I've spoken about assumption earlier. And here are some of the things that we need to do in order to overcome these barriers. Use clear, simple, and inclusive language. There is no way you can use an inclusive language if you do not understand your audience. So you must understand the people you're communicating with. One of the reasons why I was asking questions earlier to meet everybody, to allow everybody to introduce themselves, is to understand the kind of people I want to speak with. I want to understand you. I want to know you. Do you understand? So, and when you have that understanding, you can then use languages that are inclusive, right? If I started saying something like data set, I know there are some people that will be able to connect well with me here because that is what they're working on, right? If I started talking about epidemiology, I know there are people here who can connect with me on that front because that is what their work revolves around. If I start talking about lawsuits, if I start talking about, if I ask a question like, how many people here have seen Lincoln Lawyer or Suits or something like that, I'm very sure there's going to be one or two people here that will say so because somehow, some way, I can think that it might be part of their interest based on the things they've shared about themselves, right? So you want to understand your audience so that you can use simple, clear, inclusive languages that they will be able to connect with. You want to develop cultural awareness and sensitivity. I spoke to cultural differences earlier. You want to manage emotions effectively and remain calm in discussions. I'm going to share an example, something that happened to me very recently, and I think it was even maybe yesterday. So there is this partner that we're working with. I'm the one handling the communication. And so we're supposed to work on a project together, but we are the one that would develop and design the project. And when I wanted to start this program design, I had spoken to this the focal person of the other organization. I'm like, oh, okay, so what are some of the things you'd like me to capture? And they're like, no, it's you people's thing. Just go ahead, design it the way you want to design it, and let us know where we're coming in. Again, I went back while I was in the meeting to say, okay, this one, we say, like I've said earlier, it's your thing. We're not going to be the one telling you what to do and all of those things. And we're having a conversation, I think 2 or 3 days ago. And the person was like, oh, why would you do this? Why would you put this person here when you know that it is something that we do internally? And I'm like, number one, I'm sorry, I don't know you did this internally, but can you remember that I said, that the person went, oh, no, that's not what I meant. In all honesty, I was pissed at that point. But do you know what I did? I kept quiet. Then when the person was done talking, I said, oh, I didn't really have a knowledge of what you just shared, but this is noted. Now, one of the things I did was at the point when I noticed I was being pissed, what I did was to keep quiet. And I've been able to learn this about myself over the years, that when I am angry or when I'm not enjoying the feedback I am getting, or when my emotion is getting the best of me, one of the best way for me to manage it at that time is to keep quiet. And when I keep quiet, within that moment of internal reflection, I'm able to bring myself together such that I'm able to acknowledge the other person's emotion. And if I'm going to state out my own emotion, I'm able to state it in a clear manner that is void of, reaction, so that the issue does not get out of hand. Because you also want to manage your stakeholders well. Encourage open feedback and clarification. That is very, very important. So this is for professional communications. Now, keep email concise and to the point. You see, sometimes you see some very, very long emails. I don't know how many of you here read all of the newsletter that comes into your mail. Some newsletter, I get to the media and I'm just like, you know what? Maybe the person who wrote this newsletter will read the remaining. The attention span of everybody is getting reduced by the day because we have a lot of distractions around us. So you want to keep any form of messages that you're passing across as concise and straight to the point as possible. You want to send voice note to someone. It can be as small as voice note on WhatsApp. And I say, for me, I believe any voice note that is more than 2 minutes, please look for a studio and start a podcast session. Any voice note, whatever you want to say, break it, leave it in 2 minutes. I can't imagine you sending me a 7 minutes long voice note. Excuse me, are you releasing an album? Why? So you should break it down because people also have things to do. So what you want to do when you're communicating is you want to keep it as short as possible to excite the person to want to look forward to more, rather than just have it as something that is too long. Be mindful of the tone in written messages to avoid misinterpretation. You see, thankfully, we now have AI, we have different AI, ChatGPT, DeepSeek, and so on and so forth. Sometimes when you type some messages, when you look at the message, whenever you type any message and you're looking at it, I hope I'm not shouting inside this message. You need to try as much as possible and look at that message again, so that whatever you're trying to communicate is not misunderstood when you send it. One of the things I did this night, I don't have, ring light. So I had to speak to my neighbor, please, can I borrow your ring light? Because I want to speak to this aspect. You see, there is no point of putting on your video when you are, I just want to do something. I just want to show everybody something. You are putting on your video. So imagine that I'm having this call and this is how I'm looking, right? So if this is all I have, the best I could have done is to just tell you all that, oh, sorry, I won't be able to put on my video. So when you are using video and your video is on, you want to try as much as possible to have good lighting, okay? All right, so I'm back with my good lighting. All right, and I think at this point, I have come to the end of this session. However, before I ask if you have any question, there is this quote that I have at my under my email signature at work, and I want to read that quote out to everyone on this call. Because when it comes to effective communication, if we all have this mindset, I believe we will all improve our effectiveness in communicating anytime, any day. All right, and the quote is by Andrew Young. It says, speak without being offensive. And if you bring everything I've said in this session together, you've been respectful, and all of that. You've been respectful, acknowledging emotions, being empathetic. You speak without being offensive. You will listen without being defensive, and you will always leave your opponent with their dignity. Speak without being offensive, listen without being defensive, and always leave your opponent with their dignity. So if you approach all conversations with this mindset, it is going to be very difficult for you to not communicate effectively, because when you are communicating with anybody, you go with the mindset of respecting them and you don't want to be offensive. When you are listening, you're not listening to defend yourself, but you're listening to understand what they're saying. And when you have conversation with anybody, you want to ensure that when they are done with you, they are living with their dignity and they do not feel less of human. And I hope that you've been able to pick one or two things from this session today. Thank you very much. And if there's any question, I think this is a good time to bring them on. Over back to the moderator.
Good evening, sir. I want to say thank you very much. That was a wonderful discussion, especially in this our time when we young people feel like nobody should speak to us anyhow. Our opinions are very much important and shouldn't be altered with. Thank you very much for that. I pray that God will bless you. All right, this time for questions. Please, if you have any question for our guest, please kindly raise your hand. If you're unable to speak at the moment, you can drop your question on the chat box, or if you have a comment to make, please, the platform is open. We just have a few minutes for that. Okay. So, should I say that we all got the message? We can be able to communicate henceforth, maybe anywhere. We're not getting it right. Maybe we'll start making adjustments. So no question for our guests.
My hand is.
Okay.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Special thanks, Simeon, for this presentation you just gave us. It was really, really good. But I have a question, because it's actually something I was asked this evening, my own part of my advice. So the question is this: bringing it to our workplace, we know that we are all different. We have different communication styles. Then we have some colleagues are like toxic, or they just like bringing chaos or causing chaos wherever they go to. So we have a situation where a new member just joined the team for like 2 weeks, but since her arrival, she's been exhibiting, should I say, negative vibes. So how can someone give such feedback without being aggressive or derogatory or demeaning? Particular instances, maybe the feedback is that the way she relates with her other colleagues, like people are saying that she's just not the kind of colleague that they would like to work with. But for somebody now that is at the same level with her, who is like her colleague, so you know the hierarchical system in offices where you have bosses, you have subordinates, you have superiors. So this one at the same level. How does somebody at the same level as give her feedback, your advice, without the person appearing to be nosing into what doesn't concern the person, or without it being as if the person is invading another person's space. Thank you.
Okay. Godson, do I take that?
Yes, please go ahead, sir.
All right, thank you. So if I understand you clearly, the question is, peers, how do peers share critical feedback without looking like they're attacking the person, or they are, putting their nose in business that doesn't concern them? Is that the question?
Yes.
All right. Okay, thank you very much. So a few weeks back, there was a learning session we had at work, and I was privileged to be one of the panelists, and this exact question came up. And I'm just going to say the exact same thing I said then here again. And it is that, you see, when it comes to giving feedback, the truth of the matter is that the effectiveness of your feedback is dependent on the relationship that you have built with the person you want to give that feedback to. Because just look at it, someone who is your friend, someone who you feel safe and secure around, someone whom has been cheering you on when you have done something great. If they call you and they tell you, guy, you don't mess up. Oh, I'm trying to, just use the street lingua now. Guy, you don't mess up. You misbehave. Why would you have done that? Compare it to someone who you don't really have a relationship with, and the person is like, what you did was not good. If you're not the type that is very open and receptive to feedback, you're most likely not going to take the feedback from someone who what's the word now? Someone who you don't have a relationship with. So having said that, we shouldn't wait till there is something wrong to correct before we build good workplace relationship with our colleagues. And this is something I do actively. There are times I just take my phone out of the blues and reach out to a colleague, and the colleague is like, oh, well done, thank you. So you reach out to me to tell me, what do you need? What do you want me to do? And I'm like, no, I'm just checking up on you. So when you've been building those kind of relationship with people, by the time they do things like this and you come up with feedback, and the way you put the feedback again, you let them understand that this is the reason why I'm sharing this feedback with you. You use the right words that is not making so you attack the issue, not the person. So they know that you are not attacking their personality. They are going to be receptive to that feedback. So the very first thing I'm going to say is that this person, this peer, do they have relationship with this person they want to give feedback to at all? So if there has not been a prior relationship, you cannot build relationship based on giving feedback. There are only few people that can do that, and they will take that feedback in good faith. However, if you're truly looking for the best of that person, you look for someone else who is closer to them, and there is a thin line between this and the book, and gossiping. So we must understand that and not cross the line of gossip and cross the line into gossiping. So you look for somebody who has a good relationship with them, and you just want to let the person know that, oh, please, I'd like to have this conversation with this person, but because I don't have this type of relationship with them, and these are some of the things I've noticed, and I feel like it is going to affect them in this way. But because I don't have this type of relationship with them, I don't just want to go to them so that they will not take it in the wrong way. And that is why I'm coming to you, because I feel like you are in a better position. So again, you want to be sure that you're not the type of person who people already have a wrong impression about. They know that your intention is genuine. They don't see you as somebody that is just trying to, So I think that is the most important thing to do. So relationship is most important. Relationship is very, very important. The effectiveness of your feedback is based on relationship. I don't know if that helps.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, sir, for that response. I don't know if we still have any other question. Okay. There's a question for you on the chat box. Should I read it? Can I go ahead and read it out? Okay, it's coming from Chamaka. Thank you for the insightful section. My question is, what are some strategies that can help me effectively communicate in a multilingual or multicultural setting?
You're muted.
Sorry, these are some of the things with technology. So the most important thing is you need to know your audience. And when I say know your audience, in that multicultural, multilingual way, what are some of the, and I think if it is in a professional setting, what prevails is going to be the culture of the organization. However, when it comes to the culture of the organization at the same time, you also still want to have some level of respect for individual culture. I've worked in a firm before where it's a first name basis, but there is someone that came into the organization and he is a typical African that does not, and he said it very clearly. He is not comfortable with first name basis. You have to put Mr. in front of his name. And we dealt with him that way. But the point to put out here is to understand the cultural differences and the sensitivity around those differences in this kind of environment. For example, is it that, let's assume there are some languages that that is disrespectful in some culture. For example, in Yoruba now, in some setting in Yoruba, when you use the word eleyi, it's disrespectful to some people. And eleyi is like this one. So if you have those kind of people within this kind of organization, and you said, where is this one coming from? They are not going to hear it as this one. It is that LAE that we interpret in their head, and it is going to be disrespectful. So what you want to do is to try to understand them, know those sensitivity. And sometimes you just also want to have conversation with them to say, okay, what are some of the things I want to try to understand how best to interact with you. Please, what are some of the things that you advise me to avoid completely? Some of those things can help you. For example, there was a time my work revolves around working with persons with disability. And one of the things I learned during that time was that when you meet a person with disability, you don't just call them, because you see that they are not sighted, you just call them blind. You want to ask them, how would you prefer that I address you? And they tell you how they feel comfortable you addressing them. You don't just see somebody and you say confined into a wheelchair. They all have a way they feel and they want to be addressed. When you ask them that question, or even sometimes when you want to help them, you ask them, oh, can I help you? Can I help you push your wheelchair? So that is you being empathetic. You're asking them. So I think what you need to do, the action word here is being empathetic, bringing empathy into the picture. Understand them from their own perspective, ask them questions. And I think you might also want to do, again, internet is now a very big place to know nearly anything. So maybe sometimes if you are really that interested, you might also want to just check the internet. How do you interact with somebody from this culture? How do you interact from somebody from this background or tribe and all of this? And I think some of those things will help. But most times, I think that asking people how they want to be addressed, how they want to be interacted with, most times you will always get it right when you go along that lane.
All right. Thank you very much once again for the responses and the discussions. All right, please, we're gradually coming to the end. Let's kindly note the following. Tomorrow is Wednesday and our midweek service continues here on our platform by 7 p.m. and Friday for our lesson study. And also finally, we meet again physically on Sabbath to worship God. All right, before we pray, please, media team, let's have the closing hymn.
Sorry, did you say something? I'm not sure I heard.
I'm pressing on the upward way. sacrifice I'm making every day, still praying as I onward bound. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. Lord, lift me up and let me stand, by faith on heaven's stable land, a higher plane than I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. My heart has no desire to stay where doubts arise and fears dismay. Though some may dwell where days abound, my prayer, my aim is higher ground. Lord, lift me up and let me stand, by faith on heaven's stable land, a higher plane than I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. I want to scale the utmost height and catch a gleam of glory bright, but still I'll pray till heaven I found. Lord, lead me on to higher ground. Lord, lift me up and let me stand, by faith on heaven's stable land, a higher plane than I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground.
We thank you, gracious Father, for this evening. We appreciate you for the knowledge that we've shared. We pray that you help us to make use of these informations. As we sleep this night, O Lord, we pray that your guiding angels will guide and watch over us. We pray that you wake us up in the morning strong, healthy, and energized. We pray that for the remaining of the week, that we would find favor in thy sight and the sight of men. Forgive us of all our sins and our trespasses, and let thy grace be sufficient for us, for we humbly ask in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. Good evening, and do have a
Amen.
wonderful night's rest.
Amen.